copies of.
My shirt there, looks like it's seasonal.
Oh, nice. Welcome back.
I need some more paper.
Congratulations.
No, I'm not.
Really?
I keep them separate.
Oh, I bet. Oh, I bet.
If Jonathan shows up, I don't know if he's.
That's a dream.
He said he may be here, but I don't know.
Way to go, Tyler. You must have heard my bitch.
Yeah, it is. Just because there's so many people. It's only 70 in there. Well, it was. When I walked in, anyway. You need a pen?
Should have
One there that actually works. You're welcome. Yeah, I didn't. Is PJ not gonna be here? Send someone to get it? There's Jonathan right now. Oh, okay.
You want to-
No BJ today?
All right, it's 6:21. We're running a minute behind schedule, so we'll get started here. We've got a finance committee meeting. The topic of discussion is the investment of city funds. If you would look in your packet tonight, guys, there's a resolution in there. We've talked about this in the past, but it's resolution 2024-128. And you'll open up to that. In 2023, we passed ordinance or resolution 2023-145, which gave us the ability to open up our investment opportunities. And 2023-32 has the guidelines for how we can do that and stay within State Board of Accounts rules and regulations. So if you look at that resolution that we put together, and we discussed this previously, some of it, you'll see the different funds that we have recommended reserves in that we feel we could invest those in CDs of some sort for time lengths depending on what fund it is and the amounts for each one. And I can, if you have any questions about balances, I have the balance as of last week for each of those accounts, if anyone has any questions on them. I can just kind of read them off to you. Maybe. There it is, okay. All right, we'll just kind of go down through the list if you'd like. The general fund, we're recommending looking at investing in CDs for $3 million. Our balance as of last week was $6,627,000, $627,199. Next month, we will get our first installment of property taxes for the year, which should amount to somewhere around $4 million, which would put our fund back up to about $7.5, $8 million till our fall installment. So we feel that the recommended reserve from Baker Tilly is about 50%, which is what we're running, and this would leave us probably about a 20-25% margin to play with, even with the investments. Non-reverting health is basically the same way. We reduced that fund because we had too much in it, but we feel we could invest $500,000 of that out of $1,375,000. The lit fund currently has $1,131,000. We're recommending $350,000 of that be invested in CDs. The reason being, we've been getting a pretty good return on our money for the last 6 months, but with the predictions in the future for the interest rate to go down, we feel like we can capture a little more money this way for the city of Logansport. We have the host community fund, same deal there. Let's see what we have there for. We currently have $876,000 in there. We feel we could invest $350,000 of that. Infrastructure fund currently has $1,051,000. We feel like we could do $500,000 there. The Logan Fire Department Capital Investment Fund currently has $800,036. And as we talked about in one of our last finance meetings, we felt we could invest all of that because it's a long-term investment for the next piece of fire equipment we'd need. And then the CEDAT fund currently has $1,876,000. We feel we can invest $1 million of that. And each of these funds, most of them are have funds that come in continually through the year. As money goes out, there's money coming in for a lot of them. So Does anyone have any questions about that?
I had one
Any
question.
concerns?
Yes, what type of CDs are you looking at? Just regular CDs, like a flex CD that we could possibly take out if we need this money without penalty? Have you considered
Yes, we're looking at, we're using Baker Tilly as our advisors on this. So they'll be working on it, and some of those will be considered. Some will be short-term, some will be longer-term, depending on which funds we're looking at investing.
Okay. As long as we're considering something, if we do need the funds, for anything
Absolutely.
that does come up, we
Yeah.
are available without penalty.
Yeah, good
Okay.
question, Scott.
Very good.
Any other questions on that? Is everyone okay with moving this to tonight's meeting for a vote?
Yes.
All righty. It is 6:27, and I will call the finance meeting to a close. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, you can pass them out if you'd like. Did you grab his keys for him? Or? Oh, you couldn't find them.
Front of my desk, girl.
That's fine.
Get 'em out.
I'll take it.
This replaces the one that was on
38.
the stage in like the way it used to.
See her yet. They'll have a seat.
Good evening. It is 6:30 p.m. Monday, June 3rd, 2024. I'm Mayor Chris Martin, calling to order the regular session of Logansport County Council. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
BJ Cox,
President.
Chris Howard,
Present.
Cameron Austin,
Present.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Present.
Scott Weed,
Present.
Susie Wamsley,
Present.
Dave Morris.
Present.
We'll start with the approval of minutes for the regular session, May 6, 2024 meeting. Have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Scott Weed,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
BJ Cox.
Yes.
All right, next is the approval of minutes for the special session, May 20th, 2024 meeting. Have a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Scott Beatty,
Abstain.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
All right. I want to let the community know that the parade was missed on Monday because I was sick. Sick enough that I ended up in the ER on Tuesday. So for those of you assuming, just know that my health was actually more important than attending the parade. So thank you. Reports from committees, boards, and commissions.
Yes, the Finance Committee met on May the 20th. Topics of discussion were the golf course, the new position at the golf course manager, to take the place of the maintenance position that they had out there. We talked about funds for the flagpole being fixed at the Memorial Home. We talked about the roof bids for Memorial Home, creating a grant fund for the fire department, and the grant for the, and I may not get this right, the ATLLP, is that grant? It's a grant to study the design work to connect France Park with the Little Turtle downtown. Those were all moved forward to tonight's meeting except the flagpole refurbished, which was already funded. And on June the 3rd, just tonight, we had the investment discussion for tonight's meeting, and the rest of those are all on tonight's agenda.
I have a committee report for the Logansport Parks Department. On May 20th, we held a meeting, and the Park Board Resolution 2024-05, a resolution of the Logansport Park and Recreation Board regarding the need for a clubhouse manager, was moved that night to the finance meeting that Dave just spoke of. Then we talked about the City of Logansport, the RFP development, which is the design, construction, initial operation, transfer of a new clubhouse at Dykeman Park Golf Course through a public-private partnership agreement. That was forwarded to tonight's meeting. And the third thing that we discussed was an ordinance of the Common Council of the Logansport, Indiana, authorizing matching funds for the active transportation infrastructure investment that Dave just spoke of, and that moved to finance that night.
We also had a planning and economic development meeting on May 20th. We discussed the memorandum of understanding for the creation of an area plan commission, basically adding Galveston to the plan committee. Same operations, just adding Galveston. The Melbourne Park rezoning, zoning from an open space to a medium-sized residential duplex or single-family homes. Rezoning the Trelleborg Exide property, First General Street. Rezoning from an R4 high-density to medium-density housing. And then we also had the capital improvement plan, basically a guidance for building a budget for the next 5 years, which all are moved forward to council for a vote tonight.
Any other reports from committees, boards, and commissions? All right, seeing none, old business, we'll start with resolution 2024-116. Councilman Cox.
Resolution 2024-116, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, adopting the Cass County Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan 2024. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on resolution 2024-116.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I would just like to say that we tabled this last month, and I had the opportunity to, and I won't kid you, I did not read all 160 pages, but I skimmed through it, and it's quite extensive, and it's quite an impressive mitigation plan, and talks about a lot of different things. So I was glad to have the opportunity to look it over before we passed it.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Scott Beatty,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
Resolution 2024-116 passes. New business, ordinance 2024-12. Councilman Austin.
Ordinance 2024-12, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, establishing the FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant AFG Fund. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2024-12.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for
Is
question.
Rick- well,
Oh,
is-
sorry.
is
Go
Rick
ahead,
here?
Dave.
Yeah.
Rick, you want to come up and just kind of, I think most of us know, but just kind of go through it. This was really a great grant that you got for us, and I want people to.
Yeah, so there was a little misunderstanding. We thought there was already a fund established because we accepted a grant back in, I believe it was around 2012-ish. But that fund had been moved on for for other usage. So we received a grant from FEMA for our exhaust system that we put in both Central Fire Station and Station 4. Hooks up to the exhaust of the fire trucks, so when they start up, you're not blowing the emissions into the station. It's going into a system and blowing it out into the air. So we got that grant. We've got the money. I've also got the $5,714.29 in my budget for the matching part of it, and we're just waiting now for get the fund established so we can move the money over and pay for it. So if at all possible, I'd appreciate if we could do a second reading and get it done. I don't know if we can do that or not, but
Suspend the rules.
yeah.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
I would make a motion to suspend the rules and pass this particular ordinance on first reading.
You have to say the number of the ordinance, Dave.
2024-12.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Scott Peedy,
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
Rules have been suspended for ordinance 2024-12. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call for question on ordinance 2024-12.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Scott Peedy,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-12 passes with suspension of rules. Ordinance
you, Rick.
2024.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Ordinance 2024-17. Councilman Peedy.
Ordinance 2024-17, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, rezoning property located at 1 General Street, Logansport, Indiana. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2024-17, please.
I second.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to talk about this one. I know when we talked about this in committee, I wasn't in favor of it. I know that Jacob has done quite a bit of work and research on this since that time. But, I received the email today with the letter that was sent from IDEM to Jenny Peterson of, she's basically the lawyer for the old Trelleborg company. She deals with their insurance, and it gives them 90 days to come up with a remediation plan, and then who knows how long it would take to implement that plan. And I'll be honest with you, Jacob, even though we sent this letter and it's from IDEM, I don't have a lot of faith in her moving on it in the next 90 days. I'm in favor of rezoning that property at some time, but I just think it's premature to rezone it at this time till we know for sure that we have the property cleaned up and ready to go, and then have the ability to discuss the development over there.
I understand your feeling on it. I don't think that changing the zoning impacts us negatively one way or the other on this scenario. And like I've said, I think it actually helps our case when it comes down to IDEM and getting them to clean this up. We've already gone through the process with Okra to get the remediation started. Now we've entered this process with the insurance company. And whether we're the ones that get it done and recover the insurance on the back end. However that has to work out, we're going to work with IDEM pretty closely on making sure that One General lives up to their part of the deal. But this is the zoning is a key part in working with the IHCDA and the IEDC on a potential project there. We're still fighting for the potential for some ready funds for a project there. If we don't do that, we probably lose this opportunity, at least this time around, which puts us out another year, most likely, probably 2 years.
What is
on
the due
construction.
date, what is the due date on the application you're concerned with?
The due date, I believe it's the end of July.
This month, this coming July?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I honestly don't see how you're going to get funding when you haven't. I don't see how you're going to get it this year. In light of this letter is.
We're working with people that do this all the time, and the letter is not, they don't view the letter as a hindrance at all. The letter is a help to give us some comfort that IDEM is going to come in alongside of us and assist us when we're talking about getting the funding, because we're not even really talking about the remediation. The remediation is itself going to be done and will most likely be done this year. I can't see a scenario where it's not. It's just a matter of, do they play ball right up front, or do we recover it on the back end? And that's a conversation that we're going to have once we get into doing development agreements and all of that.
So who's going to pay it on the front end if they don't?
Well, that's kind of to be determined. I think that there's a scenario where the city council could do it and feel pretty comfortable that we're going to get paid back on the back end, but the developers that we've had discussions with also would likely be willing to take some of that on, depending on how a development agreement was worked out. They might take up some of that upfront stuff for, TIF considerations. Afterwards, we had that discussion. During that call with IDEM, we had some of those interested parties involved so that they could know what needs to be done to get us to the next step. But the zoning here, it is a crucial piece. It doesn't impact us negatively. Nothing is going to be built there. The city owns it. We're not going to let something be built there, number one, that isn't allowed. And IDEM itself is working so closely with us because they want to get to a point of closure where when we get to that point, we'll have to put covenants on the deeds, just like, we talked about on some of those other parcels where you can't use the groundwater, which is part and parcel of being in the city, and then the vapor mitigation systems, which are why a multifamily project probably makes more sense on that site, because doing each of those individually for a particular house is cost prohibitive on those things. But our environmental consultants, I've said that they're more than willing to talk to any of you guys about this. If we have a second reading of this next month, I can guarantee I can get you guys all, I can have them come, I can have the interested developers come and talk about this. But I think that if we reject it now, we lose the chance at a really great project in coordination with all the 4- and 5-letter agencies from the state.
Let me ask you a question. So by us saying we want it cleaned up before we rezone it, why would that be negative? I'm telling you right now, once I know that property is cleaned up properly, I would be more than welcome to rezone it.
Because
Write you a resolution possibly, if that would suffice, that would say once that we have certification from IDEM that the property is ready to go, we'd be more than glad to.
I don't know that would suffice. That's something that I can go back to them and discuss. I think, in my opinion, my urging would be to pass it on first reading tonight. If you guys don't get the answers that you want before the next reading, then you'd be more than welcome to reject it at that point. I think that the case that I'm trying to make is that without the zoning piece, we can't go forward and make the application to the IHCDA this year, which even if we made it this year, we're probably looking at next year construction at the earliest. If we don't even get the application in, we're looking at next summer if the program stays the same, and depending on how competitive the program is year to year. Right now, we have a really strong window to potentially get the project funded from the state level. And if we miss that, we still might have a chance, but I've seen too many times where delays happen or whatever it is, and the people leave the table and we're back at square one. And I think that,
I think there have been times maybe we've missed a table, but I can also say that I think we kind of missed the boat on this grant that we got over there. You know, the grant was supposed to clean that up and make it a green space, and it's far from a green space right now.
well, the grant
It's
is not,
looking that
the
way.
grant isn't closed out, Dave, and we knew that there were going to be parts of it that were going, took up the slab, there were going to be parts of it that still needed to be cleaned up. We knew that there was some level of arsenic still on the site that needed to be cleaned up. And the understanding the whole time and the feeling from BCA, as well as now we understand IDEM, is that that's all part of what One General's responsibilities are. And now we work over the next 90 days or whatever it is to get them to come along with our project already that's going on. I mean, that is essentially what's going to happen, is that we have this ready to go, we have the mobilization ready. IDEM's going to force them to do this anyway, is what the letter lets them know. And so now that we've done that, we can move forward with a lot more confidence in getting the project done. We've been working a little bit, there's been some real over my head regulation stuff that changed in February on the PCBs and how they're regulated from the EPA standard. And so that's something that BCA has been working on pretty closely with Waste Management to make sure that the material is regulated the way that everybody assumes. So that was part of what that call on Wednesday with IDEM was to get them to help coordinate with the EPA, get Waste Management on board with the project, as well as get One General moving and make the whole thing work together. But the zoning happening by next month is crucial to what, you know, I hope many of you have seen what, you know, might be able to go there, what it might be able to look like, and what the plans that we've seen are. And not to say that that's who the final developer ends up being or whatever, but we know we have an opportunity right now with them, and it's going to provide a lot of green space, a lot of the necessary workforce housing that we need for this community, and redevelop a blighted property, which is why we think that it might be strong for some of the READY funding that's come out lately, which we... That's an opportunity that I see. I'm not going to make any promises on the READY process, but...
I get that completely.
I just wanted to point out that if it's not done properly, they have to ask for a waiver to be able to apply for the grant, which the waiver doesn't have to be given. So in going for that grant, possibly to put in the housing, they typically need it rezoned before even applying.
Well, we would give you the proper authority once we knew that the property was in.
Right, but they wouldn't be able to submit at the end of July if that wasn't, which
Yeah.
is up to the board.
I'll let the rest of the council say their piece, but in my mind, we're getting the cart ahead of the horse here. I feel like it needs to be properly cleaned up before we start rezoning it to where we can put housing on it. That's just my opinion.
I think that government takes enough time, and we're trying to line all of these things up to move as efficiently and smoothly as possible, and it's just a matter of fact that the deadlines for these types of projects, as far as getting them done from the state level, happen in the summer, happen in July.
I guess my only other 2 cents in it is that the R4 high-density residential more appropriate than industrial, and I think you can agree with that. You're just saying not at this time. But also, you have the opportunity as council to not move that property on for RFPs. So if you're looking at just the zoning, it's appropriate to move it to that zoning district. You can always say we're not moving the property on to be able to sell it or to be able to do an RFP. So you still have that opportunity if you still want to hold on to the property. Rezoning it doesn't automatically kick it into being able to be sold. That's still up to this board to be able to transfer that property.
I think, you say, Jake, if the other party does not clean that, we're going to have to pay that?
Well, ultimately, we could wait them out and let it sit and let IDEM put pressure on them. I think what's going to come before us is that if we make it through this rezoning process, if they get to the point where they've made an application that is successful or looks like it might be successful, then we look at it as part of a development agreement and see if the type of project that's going there is worth us investing to make it happen a year faster. And then we go back and, just like any type of incentive, but the difference with that incentive is that we're likely to get the money back. You know,
Ifs.
there's always a lot of ifs in economic development and any type of deals and things like this, but, and we have every 4 to 5 letter state agency with us on this project, where we're doing it the right way. We took something on years ago as a city. You know, the city could have said, we don't want the liability. You know, there's a lot of ifs on taking that property on in the first place. Sure. But now we're 10 years down the road and have gotten the opportunity to clean it up and have very, very positive economic development that helps us capture what's going on in the region, that helps us show momentum as we go forward and try to get other development, other businesses to come here. Because if we don't show that momentum, then we get overlooked. And so
I'm all for the development there, but
Yeah.
I just can't see us paying for it. Where, you know, if the first party doesn't pay for it, so I have that they'll pay for it to clean up, period.
And I don't disagree with what the whole board is saying, but in the rezone of it, you're really looking at, is it appropriate to keep it industrial or change it to a different district? You still have the opportunity to not pay money to clean it up. You still have the opportunity to hold on to the property. You still have the opportunity to sell the property. You still have all the opportunities.
All of that still
you want
runs
with
through
the
us.
property,
Exactly.
even if it's
Let me
rezoned.
ask you this then, Eric. We asked you this question in the committee meeting, and you didn't bring up the part about us holding on to the property. My biggest concern is, and I'm sorry if this offends people, but this is a big development we're looking at putting over there. There's never been any discussion with the people that live in that area, and I think we owe it to the people we represent to discuss a development with them before we shove it down their throat.
That's not what we're doing at all.
Well, I'm just saying, you get all your ducks in a row, and then the spiel will be, well, we've got the money, we've got the developer. Why would we back out of this now? And have you ever had a meeting where you've showed the public what you're trying to put over there?
I've talked to business owners in the area. I've talked to people that live a couple of blocks away. I haven't gone door to door and knocked, and, you know, that's something that, as we go forward in this process, we absolutely can do. And we have a month ordinance if we want to talk to people.
Jacob, and this is the truth. I want the property to be clean, and I want the residents of that area to have a say in what's developed over there. I'm all for development, but I want it to be the right type of development. And when I looked at I found it interesting that others on the council got your letter, but you didn't send it to me. You didn't send me the visual on it.
Dave, you've
we had
seen that. We've had discussions on it. We had a discussion on it the other day in person.
know we
I hadn't
did.
had a chance to talk to everybody.
I know we did, but I just found it interesting that you didn't send me that information.
We had already talked about it.
In the future, include everybody, whether they talk about it or not.
I'm just-
Right thing to do.
I think
So,
that's a little.
I guess
I want you to explain to me what you're saying now.
Or if we rezone it to R4, let's say, and let's say the council really doesn't want apartment or duplexes or whatever there, when you actually give over the property or you actually do the procedure to give the property, you can specify exactly what you want. So you could specify only single family. What we're giving you is the opportunity to look at the development and say maybe one apartment makes sense, but the rest of them single family, or however you would want to see it developed, because there is this intensity of industrial to the residents. So I look at it in planning terms of next to the railroad, next to industrial, R4 makes sense as an intensity to the next R3 district. That's why I suggested R4. But the council owning the property still has the opportunity to say, these are the things we want to see there, and we only want to see an RFP be sent out that way, or we only want to give this to whoever to do this type of work. So it opens the door to allow all, but you, as owning the property, can specify what you actually want to see there.
So,
It's not like a individual that owns the property, and if they come in my office, they can pull a permit because that's what is allowed there.
so now I'm
Completely
really
different.
confused, because you're saying that we have to have this thing in by July the 12th. When are we going to send out the RFP? We're going to put in for a grant on
Yeah,
July the
that's more
12th.
of Jacob's
But
side, but
we
I'm just
don't-
talking about the zoning side.
The zoning is more important than the direct site control for this type of project, because if they don't get awarded, the project isn't going to happen, and so you don't give people a property like this without knowing that that they have an awardable project from the CDA and from the IEDC and whatnot. They have all of those things lined up first, and then we create a development agreement because once they apply for a project with the city's support, not necessarily with them having a property, if they apply for a project with city's support.
So who would, when are you gonna ask us to approve their grant application?
So they would submit, the.
I mean, I'm really confused, I'm getting more confused by the minute,
So,
honestly.
for zoning, I'm just telling you zoning stuff, for that grant, that's a totally different scenario. In that grant, what you could do is in between this meeting and next meeting, you could have a public meeting to discuss what they want to see there, and we can bring in the people that are interested in applying for the grant. That can happen before second reading.
Yeah.
What I'm saying in planning terms is you still have the opportunity as council to say yes or no on doing that, whatever project it is with that property. Rezoning it doesn't change your ability to say yes, no, or we're keeping the property. That doesn't change anything with the rezone. If you're talking more of the grant and the cleanup, that's going to be more of a discussion, and you could do it between first reading and second reading to open it to the public and say, do you have concerns about X, Y, and Z going forward for a grant? There's two things going on. Not really. One thing going on is just changing the rezone, or to rezone it. Problem is the property is wrapped up in some other stuff that makes a bunch of other questions that pop up.
Okay, let me ask you this then, because if I'm confused, is anyone else a little bit confused by all this?
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I would ask you, okay? How about this? How about, now I know you got time limits that we have to look at stuff. Do we have the ability to table this thing and then to have another finance committee meeting or planning committee meeting for you to come in and help us understand exactly everything you're telling us tonight?
Yes, so you have 90 days to be able to vote on the ordinance. So I guess my thing would be, your questions really fit more in the what's going to happen with the property. So I think it's more of a planning and bringing the possible people that are interested in the site in, just to understand what might be. I mean, at the end of the day, you still are going to say yes or no to those people, but at least you could have, like you're asking for, the citizens to say, yes, I like this, or I have concerns about X, Y,
I
and
think
Z.
we owe it to them.
Yeah, so you could do that, you can table it, you could do that, and then you can have your 2 readings. That puts you in August, though, so that would be after the grant if you did like it. Or you could do the 1 reading now, and then the second reading vote no still, if you wanted, after that public meeting with the individuals in that area.
We were
We
sold
can-
at the next
yeah, we
meeting,
can
you can
also-
suspend the rules,
we
right?
can suspend the
Like we-
rules.
Oh, yeah, you can suspend the rules, too, yeah.
But I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Number one, you're talking about the city of Logansport owning this land for 10 years that's going to be cleaned up, and it's not done. And you're making a project, and you're selling a project to people knowing that the land isn't clean, and you're saying, so do the people that are interested in building on this land know that it's not cleaned up? Or are you selling it on the idea that it's going to be done?
No, these people have been interested in the site since before we went forward and did the Okra stuff. Yeah,
The land is not cleaned up.
yes, 100%.
Why don't you have them clean it up?
That's something that we have. I just had a phone call with them. We had that call with IDEM. I just had a phone call with them. They talked about the possibility of funding the remainder of the cleanup up front for themselves as part of the development agreement. That's absolutely part of the discussion, 100%.
I mean,
Yes.
and I hope that you know from WSP coming to Logansport, that if you think item rises to the level of what the citizens of Logansport are looking for as far as, you know, good clean air, good clean green space, like, they're not, Jacob.
Yeah, those are a very different
The
situation.
level that people are looking for. I know what their limits are.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that you shouldn't even be considering doing this without knowing that land is going to be cleaned up before anybody puts the first whatever you do to build something.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. That's 100% what's going to happen. The zoning doesn't automatically mean tomorrow that somebody can just come in and put something up. Like she said, we own it, we control it, we have the say on who gets it. If you want nothing to happen with it for another 10 years,
I'm
the
not
city
talking
council
about
can
that.
do
I'm
that.
just asking you how you're representing this land to be sold. And if
100%.
if the people understand that this land is
Yeah,
not clean and it needs to be cleaned up, and if they want to develop on it, well, have at it. You clean it up.
Does it still have on the covenants that they can't use that property for residents currently because it's not cleaned up?
On the back part it is, yeah.
Yeah, so on the back part, anything until it's cleaned up anyway.
Yeah.
Right,
And
because
they're, and they're
this is
complete,
the front part, and
they're completely aware of that.
it's 10 years, and it's not done.
The rezone is only for the back portion that still
Yeah.
has that agreement that says you can't build residential on it until it's cleaned up.
Yeah, I've been in this job less than 4, and I've busted my ass to get us grants to clean up a site that nobody wanted to touch for a long time. There was a lot of issues with insurance before I got in there, and we, with the help of our environmental consultants, got that figured out and have decided to take this on because we have such a great opportunity for development on that site. And the people that are interested know exactly the issues at hand. We've been involved with BCA, our environmental consultants, from the very beginning. They are clear-eyed on this, and they are involved in every discussion that we've had on this, and are fully behind the rezone. They offered to, talk to any of you to come here tonight. I didn't find it necessary to drag them here when nobody had requested them, but I can absolutely make that happen before the next meeting. I can have that happen at the next meeting, but
I guess my suggestion would be, if you want to table it, that's fine. You always have the opportunity to suspend the rules in July if you want to go forward. And I can explain the rezone again if you want. It might be easier if we look at Melbourne and I explain that one without this piece of it to understand what we're doing.
Similar.
But then we can also bring in the citizens around that area and we can talk what that perimeter is. I can get those addresses and invite them to our next planning meeting, and then we can have the individuals there to talk.
Okay, the one thing I want you to understand, Jacob, I'm not minimizing, I know you've worked hard on this. I know what a headache Trelleborg is, I know what a headache Exide is. It took us 4 or 5 years to get that one cleanup done over there, and that was just a piece of the puzzle. But I also know how the attorneys for One General LLC are, and they're gonna fight this as long as they have to, because they don't want to deal with this anymore, because
And guess who paid the last
they were
time?
done.
And guess who paid the last time? They thought they were done and they were wrong, and that's what IDEM has told them, and so they're going forward. And I want to reiterate, Dave, I didn't try to leave you out of the message that I sent to them. You had an opportunity to see the possible development plans. We had just discussed post-committee meeting
Yeah.
what we thought on the project, and I had not had an opportunity to talk to anybody else, and I wanted to give them an opportunity to reach out to me and ask me questions, and a couple of people did, and that's what it was for. I caught you in the hallway. I didn't catch anybody else in the hallway, or I wouldn't have sent them an email.
Right.
So there's,
I just, a lot of times, and this is what happens, we pick and choose who we talk to, and I agree with what you're saying there, but it's real simple to send an email to 7 council people.
okay.
No.
That's how we should all operate. Include everybody.
So,
Okay. I was going out of my way trying to reach out, trying to give you guys information that I thought that you didn't have, that I knew he did have. I'm not trying to leave anybody out, and you guys are welcome to forward my messages to whoever you want, anytime.
Thank you, Jake.
Just trying to be efficient with my time.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this for further discussion with the citizens and explain it a little bit better.
I second.
Any further discussion? Call for a vote on tabling ordinance 2024-17.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Scott Beatty,
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-17 is tabled. Next up, Resolution 2024-123, Councilman Morris.
Resolution 2024-123, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, amending the Logansport Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map, FLUM, located 1 General Street in Logansport, Indiana. Make a motion to vote on this. Can I just, Aaron, does it make any sense to do this, or do we
You can,
table
so,
this along with the other, or?
Yeah, so what this does is basically just change our map of our goals for that area. So it doesn't actually change the zoning district. It just changes it from being future development being industrial to future development being residential, traditional neighborhood. So traditional neighborhood fits with our R3 or R4. So even if you tried to rezone it to R3 instead of R4, it would still fit within that traditional neighborhood. So changing this doesn't change any laws. It just changed your vision for the area.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Scott Beatty,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Haley Zimmerman,
Yes.
Cameron Austin.
Yes.
Resolution 2024-123 passes. Ordinance 2024-13, Councilman Howard.
Ordinance 2024-13, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, rezoning property located at 1317 Melbourne Avenue, Logansport, Indiana. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2024-13.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I have a question about this. I think my question's probably from Jan. So there are some memorial rocks at this park. And I had families ask me about those, like what was going to happen to them, or if they could take them.
I tried to figure out who.
There's a memorial rock for Dennis Long.
For Dennis Long, yeah, and I think we tried to reach out when the Cherub League left, and then nothing ever happened, so
Okay.
if they're,
Yeah, they went and
We
looked
wanna
at it,
get
took a
back to
picture
it.
and sent it to me and stuff, and they were asking about it. So I
we
said,
can get that taken care of.
okay, do you mean you just want them to go get it, or?
No, well, or give us a call and let us know, and we'll help them get it if that's
Okay.
what they need.
Okay, perfect.
I also have a question. This was the park that you just made an agreement with TJ Palmer?
We have not made that agreement yet, and that's gonna happen probably at the park board meeting, but, yeah, it's only gonna be a 6-month agreement, and it's until somebody has decided something else that needs to happen there,
So, well, of course, he asked me about that, and I just wanted, so my answer to him was I would let him know. So you're saying that we don't have anybody knocking on the door, we're just gonna rezone this, and then he would have, he would get notice.
Whatever, yeah,
And
yeah,
have time to, maybe find a different place to be doing his business that he's enacting.
yep,
Okay.
yeah.
So
We'll have
this-
that'll be in the lease, that'll tell him how much time he has to do, for us to provide notice to him and that kind of thing, so.
Okay, thank you.
So just to kind of hit on the rezone, it's currently open space, which only allows for parks. And so we're looking to rezone it to R3, which is medium density residential, which that whole neighborhood is zoned that currently. That does not mean that the park couldn't stay there for 50 more years. It can be there as long as you want or as little as you want. There's a couple parcels that are actually owned by the Parks Department, which would be a little bit different on actually giving the property, but the rest is owned by the city. So you'd still have the same process we've done with a lot of other city property to be able to use it for anything, whether you do it individual parcels or if you do the whole area as giving to someone. So I just want you to know, rezoning it doesn't mean it doesn't stay a park for 100 more years. That's up to you guys on what you want to do with it. But when looking at all of our parks that were in the surplus list
Yes.
and the properties similar to Trailer Board, I was looking at all those properties of what would need to be rezoned to be redeveloped. So if it was on the surplus list, I looked at it. So all our other parks but this one are already zoned to be repurposed if they wanted to be. That doesn't mean they will
Yeah.
be, but they're already that way.
So what did you say the difference between what the park owns and what the city owns is?
There's a couple parcels on the very south east that are owned by, there's
Where the playground is.
yeah, a couple parcels that the parks owns and then the rest the city owns.
That was something Pete Schmidt did back in the late 90s.
And then there's some alleys that would have to be vacated, unless you sold them individual lots to people to build a house. I mean, that would be totally up to the city how they would want to do that. But as you can see, the rest of the neighborhood is zoned R3 already, so we would want to keep with the rest of that neighborhood.
So if someone decided, okay, I want to build a lot on that corner lot up there, they would come to the city?
Yes, and you would have to go through that procedure of either doing redevelopment commission and going through all of that RFP, or the other procedure where the city can actually give the property. I don't know legally how the Parks Department, if they have to give it to the city then to do the rest, or how that works, but there are a couple of parcels that are owned by the Parks Department, but the rest is the city.
Well, we're certainly not at that stage.
Right,
No.
this is just, yeah. So some of the other surplus properties, we did Patriot Park, but also Dunwoody is on there, and it's already zoned residential. We have Heritage Park, which is on there, and it's already zoned B2, which is the downtown district. Burkhart Park, which is
Burkhart Park.
downtown district already. So we just looked at, or I just looked at all the surplus parks and made sure they were zoned appropriately. So if it was decided at some point from the city council's perspective that you wanted to redevelop those sites, they would be ready to go.
All right, thank you.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Yes. State your name and address for us, please.
I'm Sunny Miller, co-owner at 1251 Smith Street. I wonder if there's a zoning category which clearly states park zoning is just fine and residential zoning is fine. Because I think the public, anyone looking at a map about zoning would say, oh, the city intends this at some point to be developed. And as I've stated before at meetings, the beautiful, extensive green spaces in Logansport is why I want to live here. Is that a possibility? Who would know the answer to that?
R3 does allow for parks and residential.
And that's, when you're talking about rezoning, it sounds like a change.
It is.
Not an inclusion.
It's
Do
a
you see-
change, it's a change from open space that only allows for parks. R3 allows for parks and residential, which is what you were just stating. So changing it would allow for both.
And so that's going to be clear on any map? It's
That'd
going
be-
to say parks and?
It is say R3, and when you look up that district, it will specifically say parks are allowed, residential is allowed.
I see. I guess it's the R that causes someone who isn't in zoning
R,
R.
oh.
It sounds like residential.
Yes, I
So
understand
it could be P and R. We-
Just the districts that were made up, and all the uses are under each district, though, of what's allowed.
Okay, and where does one find all that?
You can go to the city's webpage under planning department, and our zoning ordinances are there that spell out what's allowed in those.
Okay. I wonder where I would find the list of surplus parks. I've been to the city website, and I don't see a lot of minutes, agendas. I don't see lots of things. Maybe the zoning department has a lot more there than other
I
departments.
don't know where the Parks Department has their surplus, or if they do. Was that
Is
done?
there a surplus list the
Was it
public
done
can
last
see?
year or the year before?
Jan's coming up to tell us.
That would be under her.
This was done shortly, like 2020, I believe, by the Parks Board. When we have a large excess of park land. And I think that's part of the motivation, is because when we have to spend so much money and time and labor on little parks, and we have all these big parks as well, it just becomes too much. And you cannot depend on volunteers. I know you like that idea, but you cannot depend on them to do the work that really needs to be done. And so we had to make a decision. We chose 5 different facility or parks that don't get the kind of use that the community, the other parks do, and that's how it was decided. But that is a Parks Board resolution. I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head what that one is, but It was in 2020, and I'll be happy to provide that to you when I get away from here.
You don't remember which other two parks are surplus?
No, the ones that Aaron's just talked about, which, the Patriot, Dunwoody, Melbourne, Burkhart, and Heritage Park were all decided upon. So, and I think at the time, we were thinking Heritage Park was gonna become part of the larger thing that's going on downtown, but, and now it looks like it might be part of the farmer's market for that activity. So whatever might be coming in there. So there's, this was decided, 4 years ago, so.
Thank you. It wasn't on the Parks Department website. I didn't happen to see it. I love the Parks Department website.
We do not publish the actual ordinances or our resolutions. Those are all on the city's website, under resolutions and ordinances.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ordinance 2024-13. Call for question.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Haley Zensmaster.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-13 passes on its first reading. Resolution 2024-124, Councilwoman Zinsmaster.
Resolution 2024-124, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, authorizing funds for maintaining the downtown trees and pocket parks. And I would ask for a vote on Resolution 2024-124.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Haley Zensmaster,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Cameron Austin.
Yes.
Resolution 2024-124 passes. Resolution 2024-125, Councilman Howard.
Resolution 2024-125, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving the City of Logansport Capital Improvement Program 2025 through 2028. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on Resolution 2024-125.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Haley Zensmaster,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley, Scott Petey,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Chris Howard.
Yes.
Resolution 2024-125 passes. Ordinance 2024-14, Councilwoman Wamsley.
Ordinance 2024-14, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, amending salary ordinance 2023-23 for full-time staffing at Dykeman Park Municipal Golf Course. This is the first reading, and I move for a vote on ordinance 2024-14.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I would like to consider suspending the rules on this one again for ordinance 2024-14 and passing this on first reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to suspend rules. Any further discussion? Call for question on suspension of rules on ordinance 2024-14.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Haley Zensmaster,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley.
Yes.
We have a suspension of rules on ordinance 2024-14. I have a motion and a second. Call for question.
Haley Zensmaster,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Cameron Austin.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-14 passes with the suspension of rules. Resolution 2024-126, Councilman Austin.
Resolution 2024-126, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving form of request for proposal ratifying publication of notice and actions in respect thereto. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on Resolution 2024-126.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to call attention to this resolution. I talked to Jan a little bit today. I've talked with Kelly. We tried to rush to amend this, and I don't know whether Kelly's had enough time to really know whether or not the amended resolution is appropriate. If not, we can table this and either rehear this on June 17th or July 1st. It won't slow down the process at all. The RFP for the clubhouse has been put out. There was just some wording in the resolution as written that contradicted the resolution we wrote in 2020 that were the guidelines for the bond agreements. So we're trying to get those cleaned up. So I guess I'd make a motion. Kelly says he's not ready to go on it, and I appreciate that. I'd make a motion that we table this so that we can take a better look at it and make the amendments necessary.
Second.
Call for question on tabling resolution 2024-126.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Haley Zensmaster,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Chris Howard.
Yes.
Resolution 2024-126 is tabled. Ordinance 2024-15, Councilwoman Zinsmaster.
Ordinance 2024-15, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, authorizing matching funds for the Active Transportation Infrastructure Investment Program, ATIP grant, and I would ask for a vote on ordinance 2024-15 on its first reading.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Dave.
This is the ordinance,
Big J.
goes to the county, Jan?
Yeah, it's a partnership with the county to put the matching funds together.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
I would also make a motion to suspend the rules for ordinance 2024-15. I believe the deadline for that grant is June 17th. In order to complete that grant, they would need approval of that today.
Second.
Call for question on suspension of rules for ordinance 2024-15.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Haley Zensmaster,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Chris Howard.
Yes.
Rules have been suspended for ordinance 2024-15. I have a motion and a second. Call for question.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Haley Zensmaster,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
BJ Cox.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-15 passes with the suspension of rules. Resolution 2024-127, Councilman Petey.
Resolution 2024-127, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, allocating funds from the NR Logansport Memorial Home Fund, number 284/2501, for the re-roofing of the memorial home. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on Resolution 2024-127, please.
I second.
Any further discussion?
Just a point, Kelly and I spoke about this also today. I would recommend that we go ahead and approve the funds pending. There were some concerns about the contract that Kelly pointed out to me, and also the insurance liability forms weren't filled out properly. We had hoped to get that on the Board of Works Wednesday, but until we get those straightened out, we can approve the funding, but we're still working on getting the contract to where it's appropriate.
Any further, sorry, go ahead. Any further discussion? Call for question on resolution 2024-127.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Haley Zensmaster,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Cameron Austin.
Yes.
Resolution 2024-127 passes. Resolution 2024-128, Councilman Cox.
Resolution 2024-128, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, specifying reserve public funds to invest pursuant to IC 5-13-9-5 in accordance with the previously passed resolution 2023-145 and ordinance 2023-32. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on 2024-128.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Scott Peedy.
Yes.
Resolution 2024-128 passes. Ordinance 2024-16, Councilman Morris.
Ordinance 2024-16, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, updating and amending Chapter 14 of the Code of Ordinances of 1974 as amended and published by the city subsequent thereto. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Scott Peedy,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
Ordinance 2024-16 passes on its first reading. Memorandum, Councilwoman Wamsley.
Memorandum of understanding regarding preliminary efforts to establish an area plan commission. I move for a vote on the memorandum, please.
A second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Scott Peedy,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes.
BJ Cox,
Yes.
Cameron Austin.
Yes.
Memorandum of understanding has passed. Any public comments? Anyone in the audience who'd like to make a comment, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for us, please. Sure. Yep, you're the only one.
Paul Wilhelm, 630 South 15th Street, Logansport. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the City Council. I'm reading from a prepared statement, guys. I want to be sure I'm correctly quoted. Last week, I was sent a copy of a petition. This was sent via Facebook Messenger to me from an unnamed source. I do not know the author of it. However, I agree with what it says, and I have obtained signatures, which I am presenting tonight to you. I would request that the text of the petition be entered into the council minutes for the purposes of identifying the reasons why people have signed it.
May I ask you a question before you go any further? Have you established the identity of this unknown now?
No, sir, I have not.
So the unknown person didn't start the petition?
I don't know who started the petition.
Oh, very good.
In fact, I'm willing to go before a grand jury and testify as such, if you prefer.
Nah,
Okay, thank you.
certainly I'd take you at your word.
We find ourselves at a difficult crossroads. We have a mayor who should not be leading the city. I fully recognize that this council has zero authority to remove this mayor, nor do the citizens have the avenue of recall in the state of Indiana, which works very hard to see that politicians remain in office. This mayor has committed a fraud against the citizens of the community. He has misrepresented who he is and what he stands for. He has shown a dereliction of duty and responsibility in the execution of his duties as mayor. A city does not run on its own. It must have a leader. The leader is the public face of the community. The mayor creates a situation where I believe many considering Logansport for investment will look elsewhere. This would appear to be evidenced already by the fact that, according to Aaron Shaver's report to the Board of Works this week, first quarter building permits only had a value of $9 million versus $20 million the previous year. I believe the business community is passing us by for major project investments because of who leads it. When we decided to move our business here in 2015, we did our research. We checked how the city was run. We looked at more than just demographics. At that time, Ted Franklin was mayor, and as you all recall, the city was getting beat up in the press and on late-night TV. We made the calculation that Mr. Franklin would be a one-term mayor, and so we proceeded with our investment in Logansport, and we appreciate the client base we have built based on that decision. But major corporations will look at the mayor's outburst towards city officials, his rolling of eyes at meetings when public comment is given, and texting on the phone as evidence of his disinterest in the community he leads. When corporations do social media searches, they will find a community at odds with this mayor who proceeds with wasteful projects. They will find the mayor misrepresented about who he is. They will find photos of the mayor intoxicated at gay clubs in Indianapolis and Columbus, Ohio, and they will see the unfortunate photos we all saw after St. Patrick's Day. They will reach the conclusion that with leadership like this, they need to locate elsewhere. The mayor has 3.5 years to go. The mayor appears to have a drinking problem, and he appears to have judgment problems. I hope he gets the counseling and treatment he needs so desperately. A mayor cannot lead this city. He must resign if he actually cares about this community and not a $74,000 a year paycheck in a job where he clearly is over his head. To the city council, a resolution of disapproval and a motion to request resignation would go a long way towards sending a message to the business community that you are serious people and you want to bring business to this community. The council also needs to take a serious look at the mayor's budget, and you need to cut discretionary spending and open sources of funding from his budget for next year. The council needs to hire independent legal counsel to represent you, and you and the community's interest. You need to conduct an independent audit of the mayor's spending, hiring practices, bid processes, and you need to investigate why certain people who are campaign donors to the mayor are not held accountable for the condition of their properties. There's a serious lack of transparency and the appearance of selective enforcement in the Martin administration. I believe someone in city government has contacted authorities as acting as a whistleblower. I believe investigations are forthcoming or already underway, and I believe the city council must be proactive or our city will suffer. I believe we'll be shocked by what is eventually determined. We hope and pray that you, the members of the city council, show true leadership for our city. Thank you. And Dave, I have for you petitions, which you can give to the council.
May I also have a copy of what you just read?
Sure.
Perfect.
While he's working on that, just wanted to let you all know that the credit card has been checked out 4 times by me this year. The first one was 4-2. The second one was 4-3. That was for a conference in Indianapolis. The third one was for lunch with Councilman Petey. And the fourth and final time was lunch with a member of the Logansport Utility Service Board. Those are the 4 times I've checked out the credit card. It was not in May. Last time I checked out the credit card was in April. So that solves the problem there, Council, as far as that goes. Thank you, Paul. Any other public comments? Please come to the mic, state your name and address for us.
Say it again?
State your name and address for us, please.
Gerald Norman. You know that. You used to be my case manager.
Yes, sir.
You deceived me.
Okay.
You told me you were a Christian.
Excuse me, sir, before you go too far, what was your name again?
Gerald Norman.
I see this stuff with the skating rink. What people do behind closed doors is their own business, and I'm with that 100%. But when you do stuff in front of kids, that's entirely different. You had a fundraiser that week?
I did not.
29th?
No.
No? Did they have a bestiality night at the skating rink? I believe they did. Did they have grooming to the oldies? Not grooving, grooming to the oldies.
I don't understand.
I know you're going to stick up for them because I know about your lifestyle too.
Sir, I do not
Yes.
own the skating rink. I do not have anything to do with the skating rink. So please move on.
Then move on.
Yes, please.
Are you Christian?
Yes.
Are you bisexual?
I am not going to answer questions.
I know you're not.
Life at a public meeting.
I know you're not.
Listen,
asked
the-
that?
I have something to say.
I would.
The mayor's personal life is not our concern, so if you have something to do.
What he
with
advocates
job complaints,
in
we're
front of
willing to hear
kids
that,
is-
but about the skating rink and about his personal life, we're
The
not here.
things taking on at the skating rink is uncalled for. They want to have fundraisers and stuff, fine. Why have it in an establishment known for kids?
It's a
If
private
you have an issue with the
business.
skating rink, sir, then you should be speaking to the skating rink. None of us are employed by or work at the skating rink, so you're talking to the wrong crowd.
Private-owned business.
So nothing can be done about that. It's
not-
okay.
It's not our business. If you have an
It's
issue
wrong.
with it,
I'm done. I'll just
You
say
can
it's
express your
wrong,
opinion,
Chris.
then you're
You know it's wrong.
I appreciate
You should feel and know it's wrong.
I appreciate you speaking, Gerald. Thank you. Any other public comments? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address for us, please.
My name is Penny Felty. I live 210 22nd Street here in Logansport. I moved here in 2020. I'm a very busy person. I work. I see a lot of good things going on here in Logansport, so I do want to commend the board or whatever you guys do. I do think there are a lot of things going on here. I'm going to follow up with him. I'm here regarding the skating rink. I've come from other towns where the government as a body protects the vulnerable, and they are aware of what is taking place and what kind of events businesses are holding, and do have a say in, hey, wait, let's step back and see what maybe, is this appropriate for our children? This is a community that we need to continue to protect. We have immigrants pouring into this country, or into our town. We are an immigrant town, and they watch everything we do, and they mimic what we do, okay? And they are not coming from very, very nice places. They're coming from war-torn, gang-torn countries, okay? So it's our duty to have a standard of living at the highest, and that means protecting the children. And I do believe that it's okay for us to question what's going on there. I don't have young children. I don't. My child's grown, but I've taught her well, and she knows what, we are Christians and what is right and what is wrong. But that is a form of indoctrination into children. It's tainting young minds, okay? Because this goes even further into, it's drag queens. They're mocking women, okay? I'm a woman. It's a very hard role to be, but they're sexualizing us. So when is it going to be when I go into the YMCA and there's a man in the shower room? Because we know this is happening across the country, okay? Or how about in the jail, okay? I've watched Ted Cruz all week long talk to judges who are placing males into prisons, female populations. And I also heard where there are situations in schools where little girls are getting raped by someone identifying as the other sex. So this is very near and dear to me. So I ask that we really consider this as a community. And I understand everybody has their free will to live and do what they want, but we need to consider protecting the vulnerable and questioning and conserving our community as a safe place for us to be.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
God bless.
Thank you, you too. Any other public comments? Please come to the mic. State your name and address for us, please.
Hello, I'm Dawn McAllister. My address is 2715 East Broadway here in Logansport. I just have a couple questions. Number one, who runs the City of Logansport Facebook page?
That would, our administrative assistant, Mindy Assel.
Okay, so I noticed right there behind Scott is a sign that says Squeal on the Eel. And I held an event this past Saturday at the Armory. It's small. It was a small event, but nevertheless, it was an event. And it was an event that brought in people from out of town, from artisans from out of town. And I invited the mayor and his staff through Messenger on the City of Logansport, and I got no response. I sent the flyer that we had so that you would know a little bit more about it. And there were junior artisans that was sponsored by Security Federal Savings and Loan Bank so that we could encourage young entrepreneurs here in the Logansport area. And I got zero response and we held a food drive for the Logansport Street outreach, that if you gave 2 non-perishable food items at the entryway, and it was a free entry to get into the artisan market. And then we also took in, and there were several businesses here in Logansport. There was Schwering Realty, there was Consolidated Federal Credit Union, there was Logansport Savings and Loan Bank, there was Security Federal, there was Chase Center, and I'm going to leave out some, and I apologize to the rest of the sponsors, but I did make a thank you on Facebook with the Logansport Artisan Market. And we were able to take in 3 boxfuls of food to the Logansport Street outreach, and also $187. Now, I know that that wasn't huge compared to what Tyson's does for this community. But nevertheless, I did it on my own with my daughter. And that is an event that, because I got a hold of somebody who knew Jake Thomasol and his wife, told him, and they were very kind to show up and attend the event. And our foot traffic for those vendors, and these are high-end vendors, was very, very low. And I was really disappointed. I was disappointed in the city for just reading my blurb and not at least acknowledging me and responding to me. I called the Fairs Tribune and told them about it, and somebody at the Fairs Tribune, I'm sure that there's a Fairs Tribune rep here this evening. I'm sure there is. There usually is. And I called and let them know, and their response was, oh, we'll put it in area briefs. I said, really? You're not going to come and do the story? At least interview some of the vendors that drove from Indianapolis, drove from Lafayette, drove from Delphi, drove from Mexico, Indiana, to come here and to sell their goods and promote business here in Logansport? Well, we'll put it in the area briefs. Well, thank you. I spent a lot of my own personal money to put this out here and to get Logansport on the map. Our mission statement is showcasing the area's finest artisan and craftsmen. That's the mission statement. So I just want to say I'm really disappointed that the city didn't get behind me because I'm not a millionaire. And I'm just really sad. I was born and raised in this town. Left and came back. So I would expect going further that you all could mark it in your calendar, especially who takes care of at least the Facebook page. November the 9th is the next event. And I hope that I would at least be able to say some of you in here at least come by and visit. I would. I'm not asking you to spend a ton of money, but at least show your leadership with all those vendors and the kids and me. I know I'm one person out of thousands in this town, but still, I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to be part of the solution, not part of the problem, not those gripers and complainers. There's nothing to do around here in Logansport. There's no place to shop. Well, I brought it to you and y'all didn't come. So, there you go.
Well, I apologize, Dawn, that we did not get back with you, but we won't make that mistake again.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments? All right. Oh, do we have? State your name and address for us, please.
Hi, Crystal Miller, 2211 North Street. I just want to say that I don't even know how to start it. I think when we think about the administration of the mayor of a city in general, we expect a certain decorum from the administration. And I've sat in this chair a few times and spoke to you myself, and I do feel like you speak to me and others in a condescending manner. I observed the way that your deputy mayor addressed the council today, and I just want to say that I think that we need to work on how we speak to people and respect ourselves as the city and how we present to other people. I think it would go a long way with how some of the things that you're saying are received if we could just curb the enthusiasm, for the lack of a better term there. But maybe just try to keep it a little more professional would be really appreciated. Thank you.
Crystal. Any other public comments? All right, council member comments.
Got a couple. Let me get my notes here or I'll forget. Okay, yeah, I wanted to remind council that the next finance committee meeting and all the department heads, the next finance committee meeting is on June the 17th. Bill Cuppy confirmed with me today that he now has all of the abatement reviews for the year from the different companies in the city. So we'll be looking at the reviews on the abatements. And any department heads, if you have any information, anything that needs to go before finance, it needs to be to me no later than June the 10th. Each time we have a meeting, I ask we get the information ahead of time so that everyone can be prepared. And I'm adding stuff right up till the very last minute. We just can't do it. It's unfair to the council members here to try to make decisions and have a discussion on things when they don't get information to the very last minute. So I do request that if you have anything, get it to me by June the 10th so that we can get the agenda out and all the pertinent information to the council so they have time to review it. We'll also have the special council meeting that night just for the abatements. They have to be done before the end of the month by the statute, and unfortunately, every year, they trickle in late enough that we have to have a special meeting to get it done. So we'll get that done on the 17th also. As far as tonight's presentation, the petitions, the council will take them under advisement, look them over. I will tell you that I'm more than disappointed that somebody can write a petition and not put his name on it. I think that, we put ourselves on the line every day for the community, and I believe anybody that thinks that the community's doing them wrong in any fashion should be able to put their name on anything that they circulate in the community. So, in my mind, that takes a little credence out of what's presented to me when I don't know who to address as far as directly for the accusations they've made in their petition. We'll look over the names on that. If we feel it necessary, we'll ask people directly what they're looking for, but at this time, that's as far as we're going to take it. The other thing that I would say is that if I've read the law correctly, if the community does not believe that the mayor is holding up his end of the bargain, they don't need the council to petition to have him removed. They can do it on their own. So with that, that's all I have for the evening.
Time was that meeting starting, Dave, the financial meeting?
6:30.
Thank you.
Any other council member comments? All right. Miscellaneous business and any matters not already considered, including ADA Section 504 compliance or concerns. Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Call for question.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Susie Wamsley,
Yes?
Scott Peedy,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Cameron Austin,
Yes.
Chris Howard,
Yes.
BJ Cox.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Have a great night.